Hello guys, yesterday I showed you this video. This is the Ukrainian substation in Slavutich, the electrical substation that also accommodates the electrical power plant that was hit by Russians. It seems like Russians used the Iskander missile. Well, what's important about Slavutich substation, and the Russians knew about it, that it's the main electrical supply for Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So this Russian strike caused Ukraine to use emergency generators, diesel generators, to feed safety components of Chernobyl nuclear power plant, for it not to explode once again, because there is not just a single reactor that exploded in 1986. There are also other ones that still need electrical power supply. First of all, for the cooling system that keeps the temperature in reactors normal. So I would say that Russia does those acts of nuclear terrorism on territory of Ukraine, because not just we have the case with Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is also an emergency electrical supply, but there is the case with Chernobyl too. Two big nuclear stations in Europe are under emergency conditions, and all of that is planned by Russia because they use the situation as their argument to push Europe. You see, what can we do? We're so crazy that we can cut electrical supply for Chernobyl. We don't care about nuclear fallout that might go even to Russia, Belarus. No, you need to follow our demands in Ukraine, stop supplying weapons, agree on Russian demands about NATO, and so on. This is the act of terror by Russia. And about Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station, it was confirmed by Ukrainian officials that definitely Russia is working to connect one more reactor to the line, which might feed even the Russian Federation. Well, Russian officials already say that it's all hoax, but we have the satellite evidence of Russians working in the substation of this nuclear power plant. They're definitely connecting the line which is going from Mariupol, but Russians hesitate to confirm it. They say that the main electrical shutdown was caused by Ukraine. How? Because there was no shelling registered even on satellite images. Well, no one tells how it is possible. Maybe just Russia knows that stuff, but they definitely play with fire. And knowing the competence of the Russian institutions in general, I would not trust them to get even 1 mile close to the station. There was the press conference of Putin in Valdai today where he threatened openly to attack Ukrainian nuclear facilities. Let's watch this video with subtitles created by the Times of Ukraine. Yeah, we have those jumping subtitles, so he says it's a dangerous game and people on the other side should also understand if they play with this so dangerously. They have nuclear power, power plants on their side. What's stopping us from responding in kind? So mirrorsly, he said, Zerkalno means like a mirror. You attack our Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and we attack your nuclear power plants. That's what he mentioned. Let them think about that, he said. Jesus. This is the mad guy. He's completely nuts. By the way, I'm gonna refer to this conference in my video because there are lots of the topics we should discuss, including the possible deliveries of the Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Putin mentioned that as well. But for now, just for you to understand the current realities, if we speak about nuclear energy safety in Ukraine, there is no safety. And the saddest part for me about this stuff that no one gives a flying F about what is happening. No any sort of the organizations, commissions, all of those international atomic agencies and the United Nations are taking this thing seriously, as well as the neighboring countries of Ukraine. Just Ukraine is screaming about this unsafe action coming from Russia, but international community, it seems like blind death and cannot say a thing. Why? Well, because we live in this timeline, guys. It is not good. Those international organizations are just useless. They cannot sustain even themselves. So now we are back in the age of the power. Who has the power, who is capable to terrorize someone, wins the bank like Russian dictator thinks. But it's not that easy for him after all.
Забыли русский штык и снег, погребший славу их в пустыне.
This guy is nuts. he started to read some sort of the Pushkin's poem from 19th century. This poem is about mighty Russia and how Western world wants Slavs, blood of Slavs, that intoxicated them, so Western countries, and they now proudly forget their disastrous fight. So what the hell is happening? This guy is absolutely nuts, like completely. Roof is not out there. Roof is leaking. It doesn't exist. No logic. He lives in his own freaking parallel reality. For him, this war should continue. There is no any sign for this war to stop, unfortunately. At least while we have Russian regime in power. Not just Putin, no. There are other people around him, very close people, who think absolutely the same stuff. And then people tell, okay, if Putin passes away, there could be the end of war. I'm not sure, guys. The war in Afghanistan, I mean Soviet Union war in Afghanistan, it shows that it could not be like that. There were 3 of the leaders who changed in the Soviet Union for the long 10 years of that war, but still the war continued. Every death of the Soviet leader didn't change a thing. So here, this system that is built in Russia, FSB corrupt oligarch system, it may only function under the current state. And the current state in Russia is the state of war. They just call it special military operation. So yeah, unfortunately, it's like that, my friends.
Не вся ли Европа тут была? А чья звезда ее вела?
Guys, I don't have words to explain the stuff happening. Yeah, even now Russia launches their drones towards Ukraine. Poltava region is under the big threat. Many of the drones were spotted there. Also, Russia started to target lots of the Ukrainian rail infrastructure, including even trains, train stations. It has never been like that since the beginning of the war. And those strikes may slow down and sometimes stop Ukrainian logistics, because absolutely in those kind of the cases the maintenance is required. So Russia tries to disturb supply deliveries on railroad. Well, yesterday I told it on my stream, and here is the video itself, that France seized the Russian oil tanker. Yes, the tanker was registered on some other country, not Russia. The crew was international, but it is still the part of the Russian oil shadow fleet. And here you can see how the French special forces, they land on this tanker, and the crew was actually partially arrested. At least captain was detained. He refused to cooperate with French police, which might tell that they were hiding something, maybe some of the drones. Allegedly, drones which were spotted recently in Denmark, Norway, Germany were launched from this oil tanker, as media reports. But we'll see, yeah? Russia definitely may use those tankers for escalations and provocations. By the way, today at his conference, Putin said that nothing of that was on board of that ship and that it was illegally detained, and there were just some sort of the kids who were flying some of the drones over airfields in Europe. Yeah, just a standard Putin's bullshit. It is not us, it is not our army, those are just green men in Crimea, some sort of the volunteers. Putin always lies. And then Putin said today that Russia will not attack NATO, it is just hoax coming from the European politicians. And honestly, I just want to say calm down, just get sleep, get a good night's sleep. It means totally opposite, because the same words he said relative to Ukraine. Russia doesn't need any sort of the Ukrainian territories, we are not occupiers, but now we see that Russians put Ukrainian territories into the Russian constitution, not even being able to occupy all of those regions of Ukraine fully. I remember how Peskov, Lavrov and all of those Russian officials were saying even days before the full-scale attack in Ukraine that no, there will be no war against Ukraine. But it happened, so never trust Putin, never trust Russians. And by the way, Russia is really concerned about the possible delivery of the Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Today, Peskov stated that no, it's not a good step from the United States, which potentially could be conducted. Well, still I put low chance for it to happen, knowing Taco. But Putin himself also mentioned it today during Valdai conference. He stated that Russian air defense will be modernized to shut down Tomahawk cruise missiles, and he says that Russia will handle those. Well, it's kind of interesting. Actually, it gives the green light for United States to supply those missiles to Ukraine, because Russia already admitted that they would be pretty much okay with that. Putin claims that Russia successfully shuts down ATACMS missiles, so Tomahawk is not a big problem. Okay, he didn't say, oh, we're gonna nuke Washington or some of the Western countries as a response on that. So he said it's okay, so let those missiles to go to Ukraine. We'll see how okay Putin might be with that. Well, actually, before Putin said the similar stuff relative to HIMARS systems, he said that Russia has better systems, HIMARS is outdated. And he said we're gonna handle those with our mighty power. But yeah, the same stuff here with Tomahawk. So one more red line could be crossed. I would say it's not a red line any longer. It's, as the Russian military bloggers like to say, an amber line. Well, Reuters says that the United States Tomahawk missile shipment to Ukraine is unlikely. I also agree with that. I don't believe that Donald Trump administration may do this step. I would be really surprised if it happens. I don't think it will happen like that. But the Wall Street Journal says that the United States to provide Ukraine with intelligence for missile strikes deep inside Russia. Awesome news. If it is true, of course. I guess they have their own sources in the White House administration, and Marco Rubio is the guy who is propelling this stuff to support Ukraine in one or other way. By the way, some part of this video I shared on my Telegram channel. There is the comparison of Tomahawk missile, Flamingo, and how they potentially could operate behind the front lines. So yeah, the link for my Telegram is in the video description below. I also get some questions about the Kerch Bridge. Why is it still out there? Why Ukraine is not kaputting it? I think our partners are not interested into cutting it because they're afraid to escalate. But after all, I think Ukraine will cut it completely. There will be the day. While Ukraine is preparing a major offensive on Crimea, according to Sky News. Yeah, Sky News is not like the best media out there to trust, but nevertheless they published the article about the possible amphibious operation or landing operation on peninsula or a massive attack on Kerch Bridge, which is a key logistics artery for supplying Russian forces. No details about timing or specific forces were given, but the outlet sources indicate preparations for large-scale operation. Well, maybe it could be even like this. Back in 2023, I recorded the video about the possible landing operation on Crimea, because there was also the information published in media, and it was also coming from the Russian military bloggers that Ukraine is preparing for something big. Well, later on, Ukraine started the attack in Kursk region instead of Crimea. Well, nowadays, I don't think that it is really profitable for Ukraine to land on forces in Crimea. I think it is more profitable to really perform the Kerch Bridge operation. And we see the signs that probably Ukraine is getting ready to it, because Ukraine hits Russian air defense systems with the help of the drones, also Russian raiders located in peninsula, Russian surveillance airplanes, and lots of the other infrastructure. So I guess that the Kerch Bridge fire situation is just imminent. It's the question of time. Plus, Ukraine obtained the long-range tools like, for example, Neptune missiles or Flamingo. Maybe Ukraine is gathering resources for the major strike. It could be like that. Alright, just now we have the info about the kaboom happened in Azov factory. This factory, it is located in Primorsky Krai, 1,000 miles, standard miles away from Ukrainian border. Azot Uralhim was hit by Ukrainian drones. This factory ceased its operation. It is crucial for the Russian chemical productions, for the fuel components as well. And by the way, Zelensky also announced some of the strikes deep inside Russia, even towards Moscow. He promised even some of the disturbances with electricity in Moscow. Well, we'll see. This year, Ukraine has way more tools than the last year and will have them even more the next year. And unfortunately, this war, I guess, may continue for many more years, but for how long Russian refineries might last, that's the other question. Oh guys, great news, there was the major exchange of Ukrainian and Russian prisoners of war. 185 Ukrainian soldiers returned back from the Russian prisons. Awesome. And guys, please check out more videos on this channel where I filmed the updates about the situation on the front lines. We have some of the awesome news coming. Russians were trapped in Pokrovsk direction. I mean, completely trapped. In at least 2 of the locations, it has already been confirmed. And follow me on Patreon, because that is how you support my job for me to film videos daily. or you may join the membership of this YouTube channel. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting me. And now I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.